Only twice in the 21st century has there been a vacancy of the Holy See. Now again, this most solemn duty falls to the College of Cardinals, the most senior members of the clergy. 138 cardinals are under 80 and eligible to elect the next pope. But before the white smoke rises, the bells toll, and a new Holy Father emerges. There's much work to be done, including a carefully choreographed series of events steeped in centuries of tradition.
The first thing that happens is what they call the camerlengo, or the Chamberlain of the Holy Roman Catholic Church. Traditionally, historically, this is a fascinating piece, would take a silver hammer and tap the Pope's forehead 3 times and then call out his baptismal name. And if there are no response on any of the 3 knockings or the name, would declare the Pope officially dead.
Nowadays, there are more modern methods of declaring the Pope deceased, but the sentiment remains. And once it does, the Camerlengo takes the papal signet ring, the ring of the fisherman, and destroys it, signaling the end of Pope Francis's reign. His papal apartment is sealed, the College of Cardinals are notified, and a 9-day mourning period begins.
Back in April of 24, Pope Francis established new rites for the burial of a pope. Now, could his successor change this? Of course. But for Pope Francis, he was very clear that he did not want a pope that was associated with a noble statesman or a world leader or global power. He wanted to be remembered as a simple shepherd, as a kind pastor. And so he wanted to be buried in that respect. What's quite striking, it's a very simplified funeral rite that he's left us with. Pope Francis will be in a coffin, much like we see any of our family members buried in a coffin in a funeral home. What's also going to be striking is that coffin is going to be closed.
The funeral will be unlike the others we've seen in modern times. Think disciple of Christ, not head of state. Pope Francis will be buried at Santa Maria Maggiore, not St. Peter's Basilica. And that process will happen between the 4th and 6th days after his death. Once the burial is done, the conclave begins, which is roughly 15 to 20 days after the Pope's death is announced.
That's a very serious gathering. It's very restricted. The cardinals themselves are in one place. They're not to leave during that time. They don't come and go. They're it's now where Pope Francis lives, in Santa Marta, and they stay there. They go over to the Sistine Chapel each day for their deliberations and their vote.
The cardinals vote in secrecy 4 times a day. When they vote, they're locked inside the Sistine Chapel. They're cut off from the outside world as a way to reconnect with the Holy Spirit. If a 2/3 majority is not reached, the smoke that emerges is black. Once a decision has been made, the smoke is white and the bells toll.
It's not an election as much as it's a discernment. And that goes back to the earliest days of the church, when the apostles had to choose a successor, not for Peter, but for Judas, to make the number whole again. That what they did is they gathered in prayer and they listened to one another to hear where the Holy Spirit was leading them. And that's why this is different. This isn't an election in the ways of this world. The selection of a pope is meant to come out of an experience of prayer and solidarity.
The longest conclave in history lasted 1,006 days. Theoretically, any baptized Roman Catholic man is eligible for the papacy. But for the last 700 years, the Pope has been chosen from the College of Cardinals. So who will it be?
What people should be cautious about is looking at the Vatican and looking at the global Catholic Church through the lens of American politics and American ideas of conservatism and liberalism. The Church is, it operates on all continents of the world. There are 1.2 billion Catholics worldwide. Some might hew to what are considered traditional Catholic values and ideals and tradition and doctrine, and others don't. And this is sort of what makes predicting a new pope sort of so difficult.
What matters most to the cardinals is the continuation of the church, and yet much of that depends on how the next pope addresses global, social, and economic issues, those that pull people in and turn people away. The bottom line is anything can happen, and the Holy Spirit works on a timetable and an agenda all its own.